It's your favorite YouTube dealer. We got the new Ren song that we are going to dive into today, and I'm happy that he made a song on this topic. I feel like it's necessary. A lot of people deal with this kind of stuff, and unfortunately, a lot of them deal with it in silence for whatever reason, whether they're ashamed of it, they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to ruin somebody else's day. There's all sorts of reasons that people have that they keep this to themselves. And as you've seen throughout history, there's a lot of people that have actually ended up doing this, and just the day before you see pictures and videos of them smiling and laughing. So it's not something that you can just see in somebody all the time. So it's the reason why we should definitely never take time that we have with our loved ones for granted. Not only that, but anything can happen on any day regardless of this being what it is. So always make sure that you tell your loved ones that you love them. Always spend as much time with those people as you can. Now, before we dive into this, if you guys have not read Ren's comment that he left below this video, I would recommend that you do. It's not pinned up top, but if you go down a little ways, you can find it, and it's a story of his friend that led to one of his songs off of his Freckled Angels album, and I assume also may have inspired this song as well, and feelings that he's had himself, which he spoke about in his community post recently. So just wanted to put that out there, but let's dive in, and let's see what this one's all about. I like the visuals on this.
Falling through the cracks of the night sky. A light goes out on the other side. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Treading on the tracks in the night time. It never really felt like the right time. Suicide, suicide, suicide. I'm so fucking lonely beneath this. Narcissistic, can't keep a secret. Miscount sheep, I can't sleep, a misfit. Some say trouble, but some say sadistic. Bruises my brother, one time or the other. My skin felt counterfeit, silicone rubber. Bruises my sister, skin pop the blister. Dig deep, resist the feeling when it hits you. Falling through the cracks of the night sky. A light goes out on the other side. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Treading on the tracks in the night time. It never really felt like the right time. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Sick boy, bitten by a tech boy. I feel like it's not me, it's the world that's sick. I'm so fucking washed up and seasick. Masochistic kid with a split lip. 6 feet deep, I can't eat, I'm nervous. Won't stay down cause my body purges. Useless my mother, can't keep in my supper. Skin so pale cause my cheeks leak colour. Truth is my father, you choose your karma. Draw for the sword, then drive through the armour. Falling through the cracks of the night sky. A light goes out on the other side. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Treading on the tracks in the night time. It never really felt like the right time. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Suicide, suicide, suicide.
I like the vibe of this song. The beat, the visuals on this are actually really, really dope. I don't know. I assume it seems like it's a regular video that then it was just kind of layered with something, but it looks really, really, really dope. And some of the things that he said, I didn't want to stop it too much because this is one of those songs where it's you kind of just want to just let it play, vibe with it a little bit, and maybe have some more of the discussion at the end. But I like some of the stuff he said about like the cheeks, like were draining of color, and like some of the stuff that he put in this so far. I do like. Comment down below with what you guys thought about this the first time that you watched it, especially the visuals, even outside of the topic. I'm just curious because I don't know that I've ever seen visuals like this. If anybody knows how this was made, I'm very, very curious.
Suicide, suicide, suicide. Suicide, suicide, suicide. It's hard to take off from the ground when
Okay,
you're
real quick, I want to go back real fast. So this transition right here is a perfect example of what I say all the time and why I really, really like Ren as an artist. He does not follow the normal structure of a song as far as I've got to do the hook here and then a verse and then a hook, and it's got to be 16 bars and the hook should be 4 bars and repeat it. And He doesn't necessarily follow that. Does he do that at times here and there? Of course. But even in those songs, he still has these moments where he kind of just goes off on his own, so to speak, a little bit outside the box. And he spoke about it in one of his interviews with, I want to say it was Justin Hawkins. Was that the guy's name? I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But he said that, like, I don't really know the rules of music, so I guess like I tend to break them a lot. And I like that. Like right here, he just kind of goes from this song that you're listening to the breathing, and then it just completely transitioned and changes to something else, because for him, that's what he felt artistically, and he's just going to do that. I like that, because a lot of music nowadays is just so fit inside of this structure, and it could still be dope music, but it's always the same structure, and him being so different is really what draws me to him as an artist.
Suicide, suicide, suicide. Suicide, suicide, suicide. It's hard to take off from the ground when your wings are cut. Your stomach burns when you're drinking from an empty cup. You know the entire ocean came from my tear ducts. I see the world through Fibonacci sequences and double Dutch. I guess there's some that's born lucky, there's some that's not. I tried to cut away my bitterness, hatchet job. I locked my youth inside a trunk, inside a pickup truck, then dumped the whole thing over that same bridge the night you jumped. I think about that sometimes, vividly. What it felt like to look down and see tranquility. One sudden movement in a world of possibility.
Yo, that's crazy. Sometimes I think about what it felt to look down and see tranquility, right? Like, ooh, okay. Because like from the eyes of the person that's about to do what they're going to, like, oh, okay, I like this. This change up, like I said, this is why I like this man. This change up is everything. This is everything.
Dutch. I guess there's some that's born lucky, there's some that's not. I tried to cut away my bitterness, hatchet job. I locked my youth inside a trunk, inside a pickup truck, then dumped the whole thing over that same bridge the night you jumped. I think about that sometimes, vividly. What it felt like to look down and see tranquility. One sudden movement in a world of possibility. Only one movement to expose our fragility. I fucking miss you, and I miss myself. I miss thinking we were indestructible as well. I miss chilling by the pier cave and kicking back with Callum, Hugo, Sager, Justin, Stevie and the fucking lads. I miss missing that. I numb myself to close the gap. I never even call them up. The distance is my plaster cast. The truth is to the day you jumped, my childhood jumped too. But I still can't find that anger. All I find is missing you, man. I miss you. With all my rhymes, I picture running 5 minutes quicker, I'm right on time. I picture pulling you back over the edge and then we're crying, and holding you, my brother, and telling you that it's fine. Not the way that it worked, cause I was late like a jerk. There's not a day where I could find a way to break from the hurt. Your body missing, so we never got to wave to the hers. I hope you're listening, I love you, man, I miss you absurd. Fuck.
Yo, that gave me chills. Oh my God. Okay, this was amazing. This was amazing. Now, as far as that last part right there, that is the reason why you need to go down into his comments and you need to read the post that he made about his friend, because he speaks about that and you'll understand what he means about if I got there 5 minutes earlier, so on and so forth. He tells the story of what happened to his friend and how he feels he was just a few minutes late. And it's a tough read, but it helps you understand this song and where he's coming from with a lot of the things that he says in it, and so on and so forth. So this is a masterpiece, man. This is the topic and stuff that needs to be discussed and talked about much more often, because it's such a silent part of society. Like, we just kind of go about our life and it happens every so often and people just feel alone and lost and so on and so forth, and you mourn the situation for a short time and then people move on. Obviously those close to that person don't move on, but the world moves on, and it's just like, oh well, that was sad, and back to work. And and you never know. You never know who it's going to be. We all deal with some stuff. Like I've personally never had the thought of, I'm considering just letting this be it. But I feel like even people like myself who've never had that specific thought of like, I just want this to be over, like as far as like actually considering it. But I feel like even us have had that feeling of, man, like, if something were to happen to me, at least I wouldn't have to deal with this or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've had these thoughts before based on certain things that I've been dealing with and stuff like that. And sometimes you get so overly stressed and so overly consumed with all of just this horrible stuff going on in life at times that you may think that, but I've never thought like, you know what, I will go and do it myself, or I will put myself in a position for that to happen. I've never ever even considered that. So I'm very thankful that my mind doesn't bring me down that path. But I've definitely had thoughts before of like, well, man, if something just happened to me today, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? And it's not something that I think of very often, I will say. And I've been very lucky throughout my life to be a optimistic person for the most part. But there's moments that I feel like we all have, even us that are very, very optimistic, that always look at the good things. Like just this morning, to be honest with you. Now, it's not regarding this thought process, but just this morning, I was having a lot of struggles over some things, and the progression of things in my life, and how I feel like I could work harder and I want to get stuff done. And I started to go down this negative path. My brain, thank God for it, started to bring me back. And it wasn't even so much that I'm like, I need to do this, but my brain just suddenly starts to do what I call scheming. And it starts to think of like, okay, well, maybe if you do this, maybe if you schedule this, maybe if you start to change this in your life. And I start to think of all the things that I can actually do. And it kind of shifts me back to a more optimistic side of things, thinking like, okay, you know what? I can make this happen. I can get where I want to get in life still. I can push to this point still. I've just got to make some of these changes. And then I'll start pushing towards those changes, and I'll feel a lot better about things. But not a lot of people have that. Some people start to go down those dark roads, and their brain just compounds it, and keeps going and keeps going. And obviously it depends on what you have going on in your life, you know, and all sorts of things like that. But I would hope that I don't ever go down that path. As much as I try to sympathize and empathize with people, I don't ever want to actually know what that thought process is. And I wish that nobody had to know. But unfortunately, it is a part of life. And it's a sad part. It's a sad part. And it's something that I worry about when it comes to people that I love or have around me all the time. Like my friend that I've told you guys about in the past, that I help advocate for and take care of and stuff, that's currently in the hospital. I worry that at some point she's going to be so overwhelmed with dealing with her mental illness and the medication side effects and all this stuff that she's just not going to want to be here. And that is probably one of the biggest fears that I have in my life. And I can't get away from that fear because I don't know how I will react if something like that ever happens. And I try to tell myself to not think about it because I don't want to manifest it. Not that I can make somebody do something like that, but just I don't even want to push that energy into the air, if that makes sense. So I try my best to stay away from it, but it's just that would devastate me. And I don't know that I'd ever be the same if something like that ever happened. So I try really hard to be there for them as much as I possibly can. But at the same time, it's like this could be any of my friends, and I may not know it. They might be laughing and joking, and then the next day, because they just don't want to share that, you know. And this is just because I know that they're dealing with something, so I'm more aware of this specific situation. But there's other people that just don't speak on all the stuff that's going on in their head or what they're dealing with. So again, make time for your loved ones. Spend as much time with them as you can. Help people when you can. You know, cherish what we do have. Cherish what we do have. Shout out to Ren for this song. Again, it's necessary to make songs like this. I'm curious what you guys think down below in the comments. And again, remember, go check out the comment that he put on his video. It's not pinned. I think he may have edited it. And once you do that, he may not realize that it stops being pinned. So you got to go down and search for it a little bit, but you will find it. And it is worth the read. And I want to say that he also made a community post regarding his thoughts on this topic. So make sure you read all that so you get a full understanding of the song. With that said, though, let me know what else you guys want to see, and we will try our best to get to it. So I'll catch you next video.